Hello and welcome back to another workout with my stairs. I have so enjoyed creating this series of stairwell workouts for you and for me, and I don't know about you, but I'm never going to look at my stairs the same ever again. Every time I sit on these stairs or walk up or down them, I'm going to think about all the wonderful sweat fests I have had together with you by myself at my house. And today I thought it would be a little bit fun to mix things up a little bit. As you know, I have tried to make every class slightly different in terms of formatting or like number of rounds or style. We've done Tabatas, we've done for time workouts, we've done races with me, we've done monostructural where we did a burpees for 4 minutes, we've incorporated running, we've done all sorts of fun things. And for today's workout movement practice, I thought it would be fun to use our stairs not necessarily just for sweating and resistance training, but also for stretching. You can get a great movement practice that focuses on mobility, but that you still feel great afterward. It doesn't have to be all about cardio, and it doesn't have to be all about reps. Sometimes it can be more intentional movement with the intention of mobilizing your joints and lengthening your muscles to rehabilitate them and also increase their work capacity for future endeavors in your life. And so I have researched a bunch of like stairwell type stretches. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go though, so bear with me. You may or may not know this, but I also teach yoga classes, and so I'm gonna try to create a little bit of a yoga and fitness fusion component involving the stairs. So it could be fun and different and interesting, and if you enjoy it, subscribe to this channel, maybe save this video, and you can come back and do this later on. Okay, so the idea behind this is that you do want to stretch warmed muscles, and so we will build some heat in our joints and muscles before we get started with stretching practices and movements. And so let's start with our standard around the world warm up. So if you would, stand up. Get a little around the world with me. Shift your body weight to one foot. Roll out the ankle. Roll it out. Point, flex, point, flex. Wiggle the toes. And another side. Roll out the ankle. Point, flex, point, flex. A few of the movements today do kind of necessitate at least 3 steps, and so if you have been doing your stairwell workouts with only 1 step, like on a patio or something like that, then you might need to do a little bit of modifying for today. I do think things are still possible, but it might require a little bit of creativity. And also the way that I kind of designed this is that you would just do everything right along with me. So rather than like waiting and watching me do something, just do what I'm doing for the amount of time that I'm doing it, kind of like a yoga class or a Zumba class if you've ever done something like that. It's not the sort of thing where I demo and then you do it after me. You're just going to do it right there with me. That's going to be fun. Let's do some skier breaths. Inhale, stand up. Exhale, sweep the arms behind you. Hands on the hips, big hip circles. Step your feet nice and wide. Circle the hips to the right, to the left. Stretch into the inner thighs. All right, and while we're standing, go ahead and let's sink into a squat. Body weight is in the heels. Toes turned slightly out. I've got my feet pretty wide for this squat. I've already done yoga today, so I'm already feeling pretty flexible, but you might have your feet a little bit closer together for a more maybe stable squat. All right, let's do 6 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's do some arm swings. Stand up, swing the arms. sit while I swing my arms. And let's activate our shoulders. So be standing. You can do this seated too if you want to. Bring the elbows to your waist, palms up like you're carrying a pizza box, and then squeeze the shoulder blades together to bring them out to the sides. Let's do 10 and 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Keep doing your shoulder activations. I hope that didn't cancel my video. And let's do 4 more. 2, 3, and 4. And here, seated or standing, let's roll out the neck to the right to the left, right to left. And forward, backward, drop the chin to the chest, chin up to the sky, chin to the chest, chin up to the sky. Forward, backward with the neck. And lastly, let's get a little rotation, turning your chin over one shoulder, right to left, twisting and rotating. Okay, stand up. Let's start to activate our glutes and our quads by doing some single leg step ups, all right? And so what I want you to do is come on over to your step. You can, if you have a railing, you can stabilize yourself with the railing, but what I want you to do is nice and simple. We're gonna do 10 step ups on the left, and so you're standing all the way up with a straight leg on the standing leg on the step, and then you're stepping down, but I don't want you to transfer your leg to the lower leg. Rather than shifting your body weight to it, I want you to keep your body weight in that upper leg, and you're just tapping the foot to the earth, maintaining that control with the upper leg for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's switch legs, other side. So your right leg now, tapping, keeping your balance on that right leg as you lower and as you stand up. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, I don't know how many steps you have, but I've got 4 steps here, so I'm going to walk my hands, walk my plank up my steps. Oh, up to standing makes it easier when I'm nearly standing, and now I'm going to walk my plank back, and I'm going to do that 4 times. Stabilizing, stepping each hand onto each step, and stepping each hand onto each step on the way down. Maybe you've got just 1 step, in which case you can step up and step down as you move and warm up the core, maintaining that tension through the low back and the belly. I'm going to do 1 more because I lost count. I don't know how many I've already done. Just keep moving with me. All right. Go ahead and lie down on your mat if you've got a mat, or on the floor. Let's do 10 long-legged sit-ups. Touch the ground overhead. Swing the arms. Reach for the toes. If you can touch the toes, great. If not, no big deal. We're doing these together. 6 more. 5 more. 4 more, 3 more, 2 more, last one. Okay, so for one of our first little mobility poses here, we are going to do just a nice and basic lunge, getting into our hip flexors. And so I'm going to plant my foot on the 2nd or 3rd step up, and we're turning this into a supported and elevated lunge for the top foot. And you're gonna need to kind of experiment. I've got my left foot forward here for this first one. We're gonna be here for about 30 seconds. And so experiment with pressing your hip forward to get that stretch in the hip flexor. And you might also see how it feels to lower your legs, see how it might perhaps change the sensation a little bit. Also think about, rather than opening up out to one side, if you've ever done Warrior Two, you want to keep your hips square with the front ledge of the stairs. So you're drawing that back hip forward, getting that stretch in the hip flexor. All right, that's about 30 seconds. Let's switch sides. So now have your right foot up on the step, and we're leaning into this lunge here. And you might introduce a little bit of forward, backward rocking here. You might feel this more in your hip of the leg that's elevated too, by the way. I consider this a hip flexor stretch, but it really kind of depends on where you are feeling tight, where you are feeling that you could use some work, some flexibility work. And I'm lowering my foot to the next step down just to kind of experience perhaps a slight shift in the weight transfer from front foot to back foot. Oh, that's nice. All right, go ahead and stand back up. And let's do 10 sit to stands, incorporating the bottom step here. So have your feet hip distance apart right in front of the bottom step. And let's do 10, 9, 8, nice deep squat, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stand all the way up. All right, turn around, face the bottom step now, and come to a kneeling position. I want you to sink it back into basically a child's pose with your hands elevated on that bottom step. And what you're doing here is you're perhaps getting started with a nice upper back stretch here, but as you start to get more comfortable here, I want you to also perhaps start to wake up the upper back by doing these little lift-offs. Lift one hand, then the other, keeping your elbows straight. You're activating the upper back as you lift right, lift left, right, left. Let's do 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stand back up. I'm using the railing for stability right now. We're going to do a few little calf raises with both legs, lifting the heels off, back down, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now just for a moment, go back to one standing leg and roll out the ankle. Go back to the other standing leg, roll out the ankle. Okay, you can probably guess what's next. We're going to do a little Achilles stretch. So step up onto the bottom step. And then what I want you to do is just hang your heels off the edge of the step. Once again, you can't really see it, but I'm using my railing over here for support and for stability. But, you know, if for some reason you feel like it improves your experience to not use the railing, then please be my guest. Really sink the heels toward the earth. I'm feeling this as a great stretch for me in my calves and my Achilles, but if you totally don't feel this, then you can always make this more intense, twice as intense in fact, by picking up one foot and perhaps even putting a little pressure down on that foot with your free foot. That's too much for me, but that might be just the right amount for you. And so you might even experiment with bending and straightening one foot then the other, or you could stay with both heels, relaxing toward the earth. We've been here for about 30, 45 seconds. Let's do a full minute here together, shall we? All right, so go ahead and step back down. Maybe shake out the legs a little bit. Let's do another set of those single leg, what would those be? Single leg step ups. Remember, we're keeping our body weight and our focus and our balance all on the upper leg the entire time. We're not doing a weight transfer down to the bottom leg. All right, I'm starting with the right foot, and we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go back to plank here. So I'm choosing to plank on the second step up. All right, so top of the push-up here, and we're getting really active in the upper back. We're not slumping down and relaxing the belly toward the earth. We're taking the tailbone under. We're creating a neutral spine here, and can you stabilize? I just put some space between my 2 feet to stabilize because I know I'm going to be doing some shoulder taps, right to left. Try to tap your right hand to your right shoulder, left hand to left shoulder. And for a moment, visualize for me that you've got a bowl filled with water, balanced on your low back, and you don't want to slosh it or tip it over as you're moving here. So there's not a lot of wobble from right to left. Don't be sloppy. Stay stable. Keep that core engaged for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very nice. Let's go back to our hip flexor stretch here. And this time, just for laughs and giggles, I am going to see how it feels to elevate. Oh, that's nice. I just elevated my top foot to the 3rd step now. So you might even give that a try if you have access to a 3rd step. Try really leaning your body weight forward into that ankle. And I'm getting a stretch here in my inner thigh as well as my back hip flexor here. And breathe. Let's go ahead and back off of it and switch sides. Step the left foot up. Nice stretch in the back hip flexor and in the front hip here. All right, come on back to standing. Turn around, have a seat on your step, and let's use this for a seated figure 4. I'm sitting on the 2nd step. That's just a little bit more comfortable for me because it's the same height as my shin bone. So a seated figure 4, you've probably done this, and this is something that you don't even necessarily need to be doing on a step. You can do this in a chair, you can do this on your couch, you can do this while seated, working on your laptop, getting a little stretch in the hip flexor. That external rotation of that hip joint is really nice for keeping your low back, your hips, your hip flexors, all of that nice and healthy and supple for the long run, right? All these joints and muscles have to last you for the rest of your life, and I think the more you can do to maintain mobility, flexibility is a good practice. Let's switch sides. So you've got your ankle propped on your knee, and the idea here, if for some reason you feel this in your knee joint, because based on injuries or based on even ligament laxity or something like that, this might feel really painful for your knee. A nice trick for that is to flex your foot, right? And so when you flex your foot, it creates tension all the way up the leg, right? And when you flex your foot, it engages your knee joint so that it doesn't feel like it's twisting or flopping, all right? So you might experiment with that just a little bit. Try flexing the foot and then unflexing it and seeing how it perhaps might impact the sensation in your knee. So you should feel this in your outer hip as you get that nice rotation there in your glute. This is a nice little stretch to incorporate perhaps even in your getting ready routine. As you maybe put your socks on, maybe you take 15 seconds just seated, pause, breathing. Maybe you do gratitude practice. I'm all about that multitasking lifestyle practice, right? So you get a stretch, you get some mindfulness, and you also get to put your socks on. All right. Go ahead and move to the floor again, and let's do some more of those lift-offs in child's pose. And I think the first time I was on the bottom step, this time I'm going to be on the next step up just to kind of change things up and see how it impacts the sensation. You can, of course, join me, or you can stay where you were for the first time. So go ahead and lower your upper body so you're making one straight line from your tailbone to your palms, and we're doing 10 lift-offs. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do 10 more. Why not? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Fantastic. Okay, what else did I have here? Did the Achilles. Let's do one more set with that Achilles stretch because I really liked that and worth doing twice. So go ahead and step back up onto your step and hang the heels off the edge of the step. And this time you might also perhaps try a few little calf raises and lowers. Or you might try pressing into one foot and then the other. Okay, so here's one that's kind of fun and different. Remember what I talked about flexing your foot to protect the knee joint? This is going to come into play here when we explore some internal rotation for the hip. An internal rotation stretch is actually pretty hard to access because an external rotation, like so, there's a lot of stretches out there that get you there. But an internal rotation, for some reason, either people don't like the sensation of it or it's just kind of a hard and difficult stretch to get into. So I'm going to show you a way to do that. But it requires just a little bit of mindfulness as you get yourself into it. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to stand with your hip to the step. Here, I'm going to elevate this just a little bit so you can see what I'm explaining. Yeah, so your hip, so you're lateral to the step, right? The step is right off your hip. And so just so I don't get confused, I'm going to use the same side I'm using. So I'm standing on my right leg. And then what I want you to do is pick up your left foot and step it 2 steps up. And the idea here is that as a rule of thumb, you always want your toe and your knee pointing in the same direction. Toe and knee pointing in the same direction. And so if I'm going to tell you to angle your knee down and your toe needs to follow it, right? Because if you leave your toe pointing that direction and you point the knee down, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt your knee. And so when I tell you to point the knee down toward the earth like I'm doing, your toe needs to also rotate, right? So my toe is propped up on the step. My toe and my knee are pointing in the same direction, and that is down. So what's happening in my hip is that the front of my thigh is now rotating internally toward the midline of my body, and that's an internal rotation, right? So it's the opposite of the external rotation. Feels really nice. Go ahead and come on out of it. That, like I said, is a difficult stretch to access in normal life, and in fact it's pretty hard to access just standing, but for some reason when you elevate your foot, it changes things. I'm going to turn around and we're going to do the same thing on the other side, right? So I'm standing on my left foot, my right foot is now elevated on the step, and just like I said on the other side, I'm going to get a little closer, just like I said on the other side, the knee and the toe is always pointing in the same direction, and so now I'm pointing, let's see if I can get you to see a little bit, there we go. Now I'm pointing the toe and the knee in the same direction, which is down, and I'm internally rotating that thigh, the midline of the thigh, toward the midline of the body. And breathe. Awesome. Come on out of it. Shake the legs out a little bit. Very nice. Okay, I think that's a good movement practice, a good mobility practice using your steps. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you can use some of those movements to help you maintain a little bit of mobility when you're just out and about in your house. All right, have a great day. I'll see you next week.